Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today is day 16 of hashtag SSSVEDA. That is Savvy Sexy Social's vlog every day in August. So we've passed the halfway point now, and it's time to kind of really dig in, I think, on more real estate based stuff, because obviously that's the way I want to do my channel. So I thought today I would introduce you to the concept of real estate as a 3-course meal. Now, at the end of the day, when you're looking into real estate, it's always important that you're looking for a return on investment, or ROI as we like to call it. And I like to break it down into 3 different sections, and that's where I like to relate it to a 3-course meal. Now, this is something that I heard someone else say, and I've adopted it, and I use this speech a lot of times when I'm talking to investors or beginning people so they understand where your returns come from and where you make your most money in real estate. Let's start off with the first course. Now, anytime you go into a restaurant and you're getting your first course, a lot of times you're going to be getting an appetizer, right? So something that's gonna, little finger food, whether it's some chicken wings or maybe little fries or something that tides your group over until your main course comes. In the example of real estate, cash flow is your appetizer. Now, a lot of people mistake it and they say, I want to buy investment properties and live off my cash flow. Now, that's a great concept, but you have to have a large portfolio to be able to do that. But if you're a brand new person, or you're getting started, or you only want 1 or 2 properties to supplement your retirement, living off of your cash flows probably not going to be too likely. If you're making $100, $200 to $300 per property and you only have 1 or 2, that's not a lot to live off of. So it's an appetizer that keeps your property going. Now, cash flow does go in 2 directions. It's either going into your pocket or it's going out of your pocket. So obviously when you're investing in real estate, you always want money coming in. And that's why it's the appetizer. It keeps you going. You're not having to feed money into your property every month. It does feed you a little bit to tide you over for your main course. Now, typical returns on cash flow that we see is typically between 1% and 4%. So that's your cash on cash reserve. How much money you're making based on how much you put into the property. Now, the second course is your main course. This is where you actually sit down and you have your steak dinner or whatever your main meal is going to be at a restaurant. Well, as your main course, it is actually your equity being built up. Now, a lot of times you've bought a property, you're putting a mortgage on that property, and so when you collect your rent, you have to pay that mortgage. But at the end of the day, your tenants are actually the ones paying that mortgage and thus paying your debt down. In our current interest rate world, you're paying nearly half of every mortgage payment back to principal. So when you're paying a $1,600 a month mortgage, nearly $800 of that is being paid back into your equity being built up, or your tenants are putting $800 more back into your pocket in regards to equity. Now, this is where your biggest returns are, and well, I wouldn't say biggest returns, these are bigger returns, but this is your most steady return. And we see on average about 8 to 8.5% return on investment based on the equity that you get every year. And once again, that's based on today's current interest rates. Now, obviously, if interest rates go up, that return does go down a little bit. But once again, this is your most consistent basis of returns. Also, though, keep in mind you cannot actually cash this return in until you either refinance the property or sell it. It just builds every year. It's like a forced savings plan almost. Now, the third and final piece is your dessert. Now, every once in a while, if you get a really large main course, you might not really be hungry and you might not get a dessert. And the same goes true with return on investment on the third piece, which is appreciation. This is market dependent. And in some markets are going to be stronger, you're going to have good appreciation. And in other markets that might not be as strong, you might not even get it. Your value might actually go down a little bit. It depends where you're investing and what's going on in the current economy. Now, as an example, the average Canadian home over a 20-year span goes up on average 4 to 5%. So if you hold for the long term, the likelihood of you getting appreciation is very, very likely. But there might be times where you'll get a 6% appreciation 1 year, and then maybe down 3%, and maybe up 4%, and then maybe down 2%. I don't know. It depends on the market you're in. So obviously when you're investing, you want to pick areas that are going to have strong appreciation over the long term, that have history showing a good steady track upwards. So once again, that is the dessert. It is the hardest to calculate, but as investors, when I'm doing my numbers, I always throw a little bit of appreciation in there. And so I use a very conservative rate of 3%. Now, using a 3% appreciation on most homes in the Lower Mainland here, that generates about a 15% return on investment. So when you add in all 3 of your different pieces of the puzzle there, or all 3 of your courses, that's what generates your overall total return on investment. So that's how I look at a property when I'm trying to judge if it's in the realm of what I want to be investing in. So I hope this helps you guys out with thinking about when you're looking at an investment property, what kind of returns you're going to be getting. Remember, it's a 3-course meal. You get your cash flow, your equity, and your appreciation. You calculate it all in, but keep in mind your biggest portion, what you really are investing in, is for cash flow and equity. And if you get appreciation, it's kind of like the cherry on top. If you really like this video, don't forget, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe below, because we're going to be dropping more and more nuggets there, teaching you guys how to invest properly in the Lower Mainland, how to invest in real estate, as well as if you're a realtor, giving realtor tips and tricks. And don't forget, throw some comments below. Love to see what you guys are saying about it. And if you're participating in SSSVEDA, throw a link to your site. I'd love to check out what you guys are doing. Once again, this is day 16, and I'll see you tomorrow.